We are taking the second of these trips down the southwest branch, and we start on the bridge that goes over Pittsburgh Street. And the direction is south. This bridge is from about 1903, and that tells us that it's not the first crossing that was there. There was an earlier one that was replaced from before the days of the big trucks. This is an old T.M. Fowler lithograph showing the area in 1901. This is Pittsburgh Street, where our little trip begins on this second journey down the southwest branch. We're going to be following the southwest branch, which pretty much parallels Urania Avenue. I've many times wondered where Urania got its name, and that came from the name of the patent tract where this area is, the original transaction from the state. In our walk down the branch, we're going to see the old lumber company and the newer lumber company, which was up here. Both of them are gone now. We'll also notice that there was once a little dam down in what's now Offutt Field. We'll also see the brewery down here and Brewery Lane, which was once called Evans Lane, and some structures up here on the tracks up on the southwest branch, which were very early used by Westmoreland Supply, and by 1925 it was storage for the Freedom Oil Company. There were tracks running in there. This is one of Leroy Smeltzer's photographs of a football game, and in the background we can see the lumber company, the original lumber company, J. Cavode Reed Lumber Company, that faced out on Pittsburgh Street. This is that same game, and the other part of the lumber company was up here on Urania Avenue, and this was the origin of St. Clair Supply over here at the end of the railroad trestle. This was the old lumber company that sat down on facing Pittsburgh Street. And that's the Sanborn mapping for it, giving an indication of the extent of it. And what you can see is it wasn't just a planing mill, it was also a sawmill. In other words, a place where they were converting trees into boards. And you see Jack's Run once upon a time went right through Offutt Field. Now it's covered over. Also, on the hill by Urania Avenue, Offutt Field, there was a stone cutting operation. There was a quarry. Laird Street was one time known as Quarry Street. This is an aerial view of the old lumber company, showing the way things are, the way things were. They're not that way anymore. It was wiped out in a fire, several fires in the 1980s. This is the southwest branch. This building is still extant. It's still there. It's been rehabbed. A good example of adaptive reuse. The railroad tracks go right in here, and this is the end of them right here. And once upon a time, St. Clair Supply used to be down here at the end before they moved up the tracks a bit, where some people remember them. This is the view from down on the field, Offutt Field, looking up at the lumber company when they had their storage sheds right up along Urania Avenue. And this is what happened to them. There were several very serious fires in the 1980s, and they put this version of the lumber company out of business. This version, the upper version, was started in 1940 when the other one down that was faced Pittsburgh Street when that was burnt down. We're looking at the southwest branch, and this is the one remaining building from the lumber company. These were foundations of the the lumber company before it was burnt down in the 80s. And you can see the second location of St. Clair Supply, which was up here. Another view showing that this was the railroad trestle. There were tracks on this that brought wood into the lumber company. And there were buildings here before they were torched. This is the end of that trestle, looking at it from down on Urania Avenue. And this is a view from up in the air. This is where we began our trip, up on Pittsburgh Street, and the southwest branch comes down here. This is the one remaining building of the railroad, of the lumber company. This is Offutt Field. This was the location of the lumber company originally, before the fire in 1940 that put it out of business. And we'll next see something that happened right here. This is Laird Avenue coming across the tracks. And crossings like that were often very dangerous places. This is an old Model T that tried to tangle with a great big train and did not come out very well. This is our 1901 Fowler map again, to give us a look at things along here. This is Laird Avenue, and this is Evans Lane, which is now called Brewery Lane. This is the brewery down there, which is no longer functioning. And these are buildings up above the brewery, right beside the railroad tracks. This was a situation in 1925. The Freedom Oil Company had a supply depot here, and I took a shot of it inside in the 70s, and it was still there. This is mapping from 1925. These are the buildings that we just looked at. This is the brewery down over the hill. This is Brewery Lane. And that's a shot from the inside of the building that used to sit right beside the railroad tracks. And that's what it looks like right now, beside the railroad tracks, and that's Brewery Lane down there. And I think we'll have to wait until the next episode of this to take a look at the brewery itself, because we're getting to be time here. I'm going to say so long for this version.